dear students, welcome back in class 10th biology. Students, I hope that you all are safe and sound at your homes. I also hope that you all are studying sincerely and watching all video lectures of biology very carefully. In continuation of chapter 6 life processes, today we will study in detail about topic excretion. In today's topic, we will study in detail about excretion and need of excretion in living beings, excretion in unicellular organisms, excretory system in human beings, structural and functional unit of kidneys that are nephrons, mechanism of urine formation, functions of kidneys, artificial kidneys and hemodialysis, excretion in plants. What is the need of excretion in living organisms? Why do living organisms excrete? Students, for sustenance of life, various biochemical and metabolic activities occurs in body cells. These metabolic activities release many byproducts, for example, toxic waste and excess of water content that are not only useless for the cells of the body, but it could be even harmful to the body. These waste byproducts are therefore needed to be removed from the body and discarded outside by a process called excretion. Now, what is excretion? The biological process of removal of harmful and unwanted metabolic waste from the body is called excretion. For example, carbon dioxide is a respiratory waste which is removed by lungs, and the nitrogenous waste like urea, uric acid, etc. are removed by kidneys. The organs which are associated with excretion are called excretory organs. For example, a pair of kidneys in human beings are the major excretory organs. Along with them, the accessory excretory organs are skin, lungs, etc. But the major excretory organs are a pair of kidneys. These excretory organs help in removal of metabolic waste from the body. They help in osmoregulation, that is, regulation of osmotic pressure of the body fluids by controlling the amount of water and salts in the body. These organs help in homeostasis in the body, means they help in keeping the internal environment of the body constant. Now let us see excretion in unicellular organisms. Many unicellular organisms like amoeba remove the metabolic waste like carbon dioxide by simple diffusion process from their body surface into surrounding water. You can see from this diagram that this amoeba is releasing carbon dioxide into its surrounding environment by the simple process of diffusion through the general body surface. Like amoeba, many freshwater unicellular organisms have contractile vacuole which helps in osmoregulation, that is, maintaining the water content constant in their cell. This contractile vacuole collects excess of water and some waste from their cell. It increases in its size and finally reaches the surface where it bursts and releases its content to outside. In this way, excretion occurs in unicellular organisms with the help of contractile vacuole and through their general body surface by the process of simple diffusion. Now let us see excretory system in human beings. In human beings, the excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. These kidneys are dark reddish in color, bean shaped excretory organs in human body. Left kidney is just lower than the right kidney. This inner concave side of kidney is known as hilus. Through this hilus, renal artery coming from aorta enters each kidney, and from the hilus the renal vein comes out by taking the oxygenated blood and pours this deoxygenated blood back into vena cava, from where the blood goes to heart. From the hilus of each kidney, these narrow oblique tubes arise called ureters. These two ureters enter into urinary bladder, and this urinary bladder stores urine temporarily, and when we get an urge to pass out urine, the sphincter muscles open and pass the urine out through this tube called urethra. So this is about human excretory system. Now let us see once again about human excretory system, about which we have learned with the help of diagram. Human excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys which are reddish brown in color and bean shaped structures present in the abdominal cavity, one on the either side of vertebral column. In each kidney, about millions of structural and functional units, or the filtering units called nephrons, are present. Its concave side is called hilus, which is meant for the entry of renal artery and exit of renal vein and ureters. The blood enters the kidney for filtration through renal artery, and the filtered blood is collected from the kidneys by renal vein. So renal artery is the artery which carries oxygenated blood from heart through aorta, but this is full of metabolic waste or nitrogenous waste of the body. Renal vein carries the deoxygenated blood away from kidney, from which the metabolic waste have been removed. Ureters, these are narrow muscular tubes of about 30 cm in length. Each ureter arises from the hilus part of the kidney. You have seen in the previous slide from the diagram. It opens obliquely into urinary bladder. Ureters carry urine from kidneys to the urinary bladder. Now, what is urinary bladder? It is a pear-shaped muscular bag-like structure. It stores urine coming from kidneys through ureters and release it out periodically through urethra when there is an urge to pass urine out. The storage capacity of urinary bladder is about 300 to 800 milliliter. The opening of urinary bladder into urethra is guarded by sphincter muscles. Means it controls the backflow of urine from urethra into urinary bladder. Now urethra. Urethra is the opening through which urine is passed out, and it is about 4 centimeter long in females and about 20 centimeter long in males. Now students, let us learn about the filtering units of kidney, that are nephron. Each kidney contains about millions of highly coiled structures called nephrons, which are the structural and functional unit of kidney. These are the filtering units of kidney. Each nephron consists of renal corpuscles and renal tubules. Renal word is associated with kidneys. Renal corpuscles are further consist of Bowman's capsule, which is cup-shaped structure, and glomerulus, which is tuft of capillaries, bunch of capillaries or cluster of capillaries present in Bowman's capsule. Renal tubules of nephron are further of 3 types. They consist of 3 parts. Proximal convoluted tubule, that is PCT, U-shaped Henle's loop or loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule, that is DCT. Convoluted means coiled part. Now let us see the structure of nephron with the help of this diagram. Students, this is one kidney, that is left kidney. The outer surface of kidney is called cortex, which is light in color, and the inner dark portion of kidney is known as medulla. In this region of kidney, highly coiled structures, which are millions in number, present, called nephrons. These are nephrons, and its magnified structure you can watch from this portion. This is the diagram of one nephron. Similarly, millions of nephrons are present in this bean-shaped kidney. You have just seen in the previous slide that nephron consists of renal corpuscle, which further consists of cup-shaped Bowman's capsule. This is Bowman's capsule, cup-shaped Bowman's capsule, and glomerulus. Here the tuft of capillaries or cluster of capillaries is present in the Bowman's capsule, that is called glomerulus. How glomerulus is formed? Look at from this diagram. When the branch of renal artery enters the kidney and from kidney it enters nephron, its one branch is known as efferent arteriole, which enters the Bowman's capsule, where it divides and redivides to form cluster of capillaries, network of capillaries called glomerulus, and it comes out in the form of efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole further forms the network of capillary around the renal tubular part of the nephron. Now see the renal tubular part of the nephron. See, this is the renal corpuscle part, which consists of cup-shaped Bowman's capsule in which this glomerulus is formed, and this portion is the renal tubular part of nephron, which consists of initial proximal convoluted tubule, which is highly convoluted or coiled part, and then this proximal convoluted tubule comes down as a descending limb of PCT and forms a U-shaped structure called loop of Henle. Then it rises up as a ascending limb of PCT or loop of Henle. This is called descending limb of loop of Henle. This is called ascending limb of loop of Henle, which enters into DCT part, that is distal convoluted tubule, and this distal convoluted tubule enters into collecting tubule. So this is about the structure of nephron. These proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule and a part of collecting tubule is present in the cortex part of kidney. You have seen that outer surface of kidney is called cortex, and the coiled part of nephron is present in the cortex, and the tubular, straight tubular part of nephron is present in the medulla part, inner part of the kidney. So this is the basic structure of nephron. Let's see once again. Nephron consists of Bowman's capsule, in which cluster of glomerulus is present. Cluster of capillaries called glomerulus is present, which is formed by afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. Below this Bowman's capsule, renal tubular part of nephron is present. Its initial part is called proximal convoluted tubule, which forms loop of Henle, and from loop of Henle it enters into DCT part, that is distal convoluted tubule, and then it enters into collecting tubule. Now this is the base of nephron, and the renal tubular part of nephron is covered by peritubular network of capillaries formed by efferent arteriole. You can see that the network of capillaries are formed around the PCT, loop of Henle and DCT part of nephron. Then these network of capillaries reunite and come out of nephron and ultimately from kidney in the form of renal vein. This collecting tubule of all the nephrons form pelvis part of kidney and comes out as ureter by carrying urine. So this is the basic structure of one nephron in kidneys. Now let us see what you have learnt with the help of diagram about nephron. Nephron are the filtering units of kidneys. These are the structural and functional units of kidneys. Let us revise its structure. In each kidney there are millions of highly coiled structures called nephron. These are filtering units of kidneys where the blood is purified by removing the nitrogenous waste. Each nephron consists of cup-shaped structure called Bowman's capsule, in which cluster of blood capillaries called glomerulus are present. Glomerulus is formed by branching of afferent and efferent arterioles of renal artery. Its coiled renal tubular part further consists of proximal convoluted tubule PCT, U-shaped loop of Henle and distal convoluted tubule DCT. And finally it opens into collecting duct that further opens into pelvis part of kidney and finally leads into ureters. All parts of renal tubule are covered by a peritubular network of capillaries formed from efferent arteriole. Now see what are the various functions performed by nephron. Nephron in each kidney help in purification of blood by removing nitrogenous waste and other metabolic waste of the blood. It helps in osmoregulation, that is maintaining the water and salt content in the body. It maintains pH level, that are acid-base balance of the body. It regulates salt contents of the body, and it maintains the homeostasis, that is maintaining the internal environment of the body. Now let us see how nephron helps in the removal of nitrogenous waste from the blood and help in the formation of urine. How it helps in purification of blood by removing the nitrogenous waste. Now students, you can see from this figure that efferent arteriole, which is the branch of renal artery, carries the oxygenated blood into each kidney, which enters into the nephron, and inside nephron it reaches the cavity of Bowman's capsule, where it divides and redivides to form cluster of capillaries called glomerulus, and comes out in the form of efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole is broad and this efferent arteriole is narrow. The difference in their dimension is to create high pressure, ultra pressure in the Bowman's capsule to filter out the blood plasma part of the blood. Now the liquid part of the blood, that is blood plasma, is filtered out under high pressure into the cavity of this Bowman's capsule, and this blood plasma contains all the useful substances that are glucose, amino acids, inorganic salts, water, along with harmful substances that are nitrogenous waste, metabolic waste of the body. Means in Bowman's capsule both useful as well as harmful substances are filtered out under high pressure, and this step of urine formation is called ultrafiltration, which takes place in Bowman's capsule. And this filtrate in Bowman's capsule is now known as nephric filtrate or ultrafiltrate or glomerular filtrate. This enters into the initial part of nephron, that is called PCT part. Right? Now in this PCT part, the all useful substances which are filtered into Bowman's capsule are reabsorbed by the blood, which is present in the peritubular capillaries around this PCT. Right? That is why we normally say we find glucose in the nephric filtrate, but when we pass out urine, no glucose is detected in the urine of normal person, because entire glucose is reabsorbed by blood, and from here it supplies to the cells of kidney for respiration. Then the nephric filtrate here also removes water and other important useful inorganic salts from nephric filtrate back into blood in the peritubular capillaries. Then this nephric filtrate pass down this descending limb of loop of Henle. Here it reaches where the reabsorption of water takes place from nephric filtrate into blood. After this, again this nephric filtrate moves upward through the ascending limb of loop of Henle and reaches the DCT part. In DCT part, if any nitrogenous waste which is not filtered from blood into Bowman's capsule and still remains in the blood is secreted into nephric filtrate, and then this nephric filtrate enters from here into collecting duct. This nephric filtrate is now known as urine because whole of the nitrogenous waste is filtered into this nephric filtrate, and now this is known as urine. So students, urine formation involves three steps. One is ultrafiltration, which takes place in Bowman's capsule. Second is reabsorption, which takes place in PCT part of nephron, and third is selective secretion, which occurs in DCT part of nephron. And then urine is collected in the collecting duct, and from collecting duct it enters into the pelvis part of the kidney, and from pelvis part of the kidney it goes to the ureters, and from ureters it stores temporarily in urinary bladder, and when we feel an urge to pass the urine out from the body, then through urethra it comes out. This is the mechanism of urine formation. Now let us see and revise what you have learnt about mechanism of urine formation with the help of diagram in the previous slide. Students, in each kidney there are millions of highly coiled filtering units present called nephrons. These help in purification of blood by removing nitrogenous waste like urea and uric acid in the form of urine. This urine formation involves three steps: ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption and selective secretion. In ultrafiltration, during this process the blood in the glomerulus filter out the useful substances like entire glucose, amino acids, inorganic salts, water and harmful substances like urea, uric acid and other metabolic waste into Bowman's capsule of nephron under high pressure. This process is known as ultrafiltration, and this filtrate is known as ultrafiltrate or glomerular filtrate or nephric filtrate. Now see selective reabsorption. During this process, the useful substances like glucose, amino acids, inorganic salts and large amount of water is selectively reabsorbed by the blood present in the peritubular capillaries from nephric filtrate. It occurs in the initial part of nephron, that is PCT. Students, you can be asked in exam, name the substances which are reabsorbed in the initial part of nephron or PCT. Then you have to name all these useful substances are reabsorbed from nephric filtrate into blood present in peritubular capillaries in the PCT part of nephron. Here large amount of water is also reabsorbed and it also reabsorbed in loop of Henle. Now selective secretion. During this process the nitrogenous waste which from the peritubular blood capillaries are secreted into nephric filtrate in DCT part of nephron. This nephric filtrate is now known as urine, and thus urine formed in each kidneys enters into ureters which finally open into urinary bladder and pass out the urine through urethra periodically. The process of passing out urine out of the body is known as micturition. It is called micturition. Now students, let us see how is the amount of urine produced regulated in the body. Means when you feel the frequent urge to pass out the urine, or when release out the dilute urine, or you release out concentrated urine. The regulation of amount of urine produced depend on two factors. One is how much excess water is there in your body. Second, how much waste material has to be excreted through this water out of the body. It is also under hormonal control. It is regulated by hormone ADH. ADH means anti-diuretic hormone or vasopressin. It is secreted by pituitary gland present in the brain into blood. If this ADH is released by pituitary gland into blood, it means there is shortage of water in the body and it should be reabsorbed from the nephric filtrate. So if it is released in the large amount in the blood, then the water reabsorption will be more and we pass out concentrated urine. But if it is secreted in the blood in less amount, it means there is no need of water absorption and the water reabsorption will be less by the blood, and then we pass out dilute urine, right? So this is how the amount of urine produced in the body regulated, and how the amount of water is also regulated in the human body by the kidneys. So what are the various functions performed by the kidneys? See, kidneys help in purification of blood with the help of nephron by removing nitrogenous waste and the other waste products from the body present in the blood. It helps in osmoregulation, that is maintaining water and salt content in the body. It maintains pH level, that is acid base balance of the body. It regulates the salt content of the body. It maintains the homeostasis, that is maintaining the internal environment of the body. It keeps the internal environment of the body constant. That process is called homeostasis. Now students, let us see and learn about artificial kidney or hemodialysis. Students, you have seen the functioning of normal kidneys in our body, and see how the function of these kidneys in normal body are necessary for survival. Kidneys are very important organs for our survival, but due to some factors like infections, injuries, or restricted blood flow to the kidneys, reduce the activities of these kidneys. And if the kidneys do not function properly, then the various poisonous substances start accumulating in the body, which prove fatal to the body and lead to death. In case of kidney failure, an artificial kidney can be used. What is this artificial kidney? Artificial kidney is a device to remove nitrogenous waste products from the blood through dialysis. So students, this picture represents the dialysis of this patient whose kidneys do not work, and the nitrogenous waste products from his blood are removed with the help of artificial kidney. This structure tells about the internal working of artificial kidney. Artificial kidneys contain a number of tubular structures with semi-permeable lining. You can see that these tubes are the structures into which the blood taken from the artery of patient is pumped, and these tubes are suspended into this yellow portion. This yellow portion indicates the dialyzing solution, which is freshly prepared and pumped into this part. This is the dialyzing solution. This dialyzing solution is pumped into this region, into which this tubular sheet is suspended, which carries the blood from the artery of patient's body. This dialyzing fluid has the same osmotic pressure as that of blood plasma, except that this dialyzing solution does not contain nitrogenous waste, but the blood coming from patient's body is full of nitrogenous waste. So due to this difference in concentration of nitrogenous waste between dialyzing solution and the blood of the patient, nitrogenous waste come out from the blood through the semi-permeable membrane of these tubes into this dialyzing solution. In this way, the nitrogenous waste are removed from the blood, and when the nitrogenous waste or other metabolic waste are removed from the blood is pumped back through the vein into the patient's body. And these nitrogenous waste which are now present in this dialyzing solution, it is collected in the another container, and you can see that this container is collecting the used dialyzing solution with the urea and other nitrogenous waste and excess salts from the patient body. This is how artificial kidney or hemodialysis occurs and function in the patient whose both kidneys are not functioning properly. Now students, the last topic of today's lecture is excretion in plants. Plants also excrete and remove the waste products from their body, and they use number of methods to get rid of excretory products, like the oxygen which is produced by the plants during the process of photosynthesis gets removed through stomata. Similarly, carbon dioxide is also excretory product which is produced during the process of respiration and removed from the plant through stomata. The excess of water gets also removed through stomata by the process of transpiration. Some other waste get removed along with dead cells when plants loses some parts like bark of the tree or old leaves, etc. Some waste products in plants are stored in cellular vacuoles. Some waste products are stored as resins, gums, especially in old xylem, wood. Plants also excrete some waste substances directly into soil around them, and some waste substances of the plants are also eliminated through petals, fruits, seeds, etc. Have a look on these diagrams that how excretion takes place in plants. See, plants eliminate gaseous waste through stomata. They eliminate or remove excess water through stomata during transpiration. They shed old leaves. They store waste or some chemicals in fruits. They excrete waste through bark of the tree. For example, latex and resins are produced. You can see from this. These are the secretions coming out from the bark of the tree, which also are useful in making paints, varnishing, adhesive, etc. So this picture depicts resins coming out from the bark of the tree. Rubber tree plants secrete latex like this, which is used to make rubber. So these are some pictures which tells us that how excretion takes place in plants. So students, this is all about today's lecture. I hope that you have understood excretion in human beings and in plants. So thank you students. Have a nice day. Stay safe and healthy.